Hari Om, everybody. Let's get started. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shuklam Baradaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Vagishadya Sumanasaha Sarvarthanam Upakrame Yam Natva Kritakritya Syuhu Tam namami gajananam Vakratunda mahakaya Koti surya samaprabha Nirvignam kurume deva Sarvakaryeshu sarvada Saraswati namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Vyasam Vasishtanaptaram Shakteh Pautramakalmasham Parasharatmajam Vande Shukatatam Taponidim Vyasaya Vishnurupaya Vyasarupaya Vishnave Namo Vai Brahmanidaye Vasishtaya Namo Namaha Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Govindaya Namo Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let me try to share the screen here. Om Shanno Mitrasham Varunah Shanno Bhavatvadyabam Shanna Indro Bruhaspatihi Shanno Vishnurukramah Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Ratam vadishyami, satyam vadishyami, tanmam avatu, tadvaktaram avatu, avatu mam, avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Bhadram Karne Bhishrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashe Makshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangai Stuštuvagum Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitayadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddashrabaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti nastarksho arishtanemihi Swasti no brahaspatir dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Yasya Sannidhi Matrena Sarve Shishyascha Sevakaha Karma Kshetre Pravartante Chinmayam Tam Namamyaham Chinmayam Tam Namamyaham Chinmayam Tam Namamyaham. So last week we started with our Vedanta lecture series to introduce some basic concepts of Vedanta. Let me take a few moments to recap for those who just joined today. As a brief introduction, we went through the Shanti mantra, Sahana Vavatu, and why we start that at the beginning of every class, and the 3 times Shanti to remove all the obstacles, Adi Daivika, Adi Bhautika, Adhyatmika. Not going to go over all of it, but I'll just quickly run through last week's slides so that we went through some definition of culture, starting with the Phil Kotler definition of an organizational culture. Then if somebody were to introduce us to Hindu culture, talk about Hindu culture, somebody might say from a shastra standpoint, somebody may talk about a little bit about the way we greet people or the way we marry in our sampradaya, the way we decorate our homes, or our art form of Bharatanatyam and music and so on, the way we celebrate our festivities and the way we eat, all that. And the definition of culture according to our Puja Gurudev, we had 4 factors that a group of people must exist and live together in a particular geographic area for a long time, respecting a certain way of life. And we call it as samskriti. There were two aspects of prakriti and vikriti, that which behaves in accordance with the nature and that not in accordance with the nature. Went through some definition of culture cannot be taught, but it has to be caught. And we went through the two aspects of culture, the Adhyatma Samskriti, the spiritual culture, and Bhautika Samskriti, the materialistic culture. A typical scientist thinks that seeing is believing and things like that. And then our spiritual scientists, our rishis, taught us how to ask the profound questions as to who am I, why am I here, where was I born before I was born, and why am I sometimes happy, sometimes sad. All these profound questions, when we inquire, even our rishis analyze this type of, through this inquiry, how to find lasting happiness. That was through what we called as an intelligent self-restraint, similar to a disciplined driving on a freeway. And then we also explored the aspect of gratitude, to appreciate what we have. That is where we begin. And our spiritual masters have also taught us that we have sought happiness in the external world, and we need to take a U-turn, turn inward, and maintain how to maintain that proper contact with the world to seek that eternal happiness. Then we also explored that our divine heritage is that which is to be true to our true nature, to discover our blissful nature. And Vedanta is that science that helps us to discover our self unfoldment. Similar to an ocean, we have been living at the surface level. When we go deep within, we discover our true nature, the serene, tranquil mind. Then we explored some aspects of the two motivating impulses which drives our behavior, the revulsion to sorrow, atyantika dukkha nivritti, and paramananda prapti. That is what drives all human endeavor. And for that, we said, currently, we are seeking that happiness in the external objects. For that, we change our place, desha, kala, vastu, and paristiti. We change those in order to eke out a little bit of happiness here and there that we have pursued. But what we are after is that eternal happiness. In that context, we explored the happiness equation, where the number of desires fulfilled divided by the number of desires entertained. And we said we just cannot work on the numerator alone, and how the best methodology is to minimize the number of desires entertained in the first place. And we also explored a very profound statement that we have been pursuing infinite goals in order to seek that happiness. What we need is to pursue infinity as our only goal, to pursue that eternal happiness. That was a statement from our Gurudev. Then we explored the standard of living versus standard of life, how our rishis taught us to contain our desires, and the Shreya, Preya, Viveka, as we call in Vedanta, the path of the pleasant and the path of the good. That was where I had outlined about 7 differences between the path of the pleasant and the path of the good, and how we explored that. That was last class. So now we will talk a little bit today Okay. Bear with me for a second. This. Srinivas, are you able to see my screen? Okay. I think you're able to see now.
Yes.
So today we are going to explore our shastras. The sacred books of Hinduism, they're called as shastras. They fall under two broad categories. Shruti. We will start with Shruti. In Sanskrit, the word Shru means hear, Shrunu, that which is heard and revealed. They're called as Vedas. Every religion in this world has a source book. For Christians, it is the Bible. For Muslims, it is the Quran. And for Hindus, the source book are called the Vedas. They're derived from the root word vid. That means to know. Like when we say Vidwan, Vidvat, all these are derived from that root. Originally, they were one. Just like Sir Isaac Newton discovered the law of gravitation. Our ancient masters, our rishis, also discovered these eternal truths as revelations in their meditation based on intellectual and logical reasoning. That is why we say a scientific law is not created but discovered. That leads us to a famous joke from our Puja Guruji Swami Tejomayananji. Once in a chemistry class, a teacher told the students that oxygen was discovered in the 16th century. And one student immediately asked, "Oh, really? What were they breathing until then?" Jokes apart, so this Shruti Shastra, they're called as Apurusheya Grantha because they are not created by a man-made entity. They are not subject to the defects of the human intellect. Then the second category of the scriptures is called Smriti. In Sanskrit, Smru or Smara means that which is remembered. The knowledge that is remembered. Some of the famous Smriti Shastras are like Manu Smriti, Gautama Smriti, Yagnavalkya Smriti, Parashara Smriti, Kautilya Smriti. These are all examples of Smriti Shastra. We recently had our Bhagavad Gita lectures, and Bhagavad Gita is technically considered Smriti Shastra because Lord Krishna remembered and taught the essence of Upanishads to Arjuna in his own words. But Gita has enjoyed the status of a Shruti due to the fact that it focuses on the spiritual knowledge. Then we have the other two categories of Itihasa and Purana. There is Ramayana and Mahabharata. They are the two Itihasas in our Shastra. Then there are 18 Mahapuranas like Shiva Purana, Vishnu Purana, Garuda Purana, etc. We will discuss all these categories when we discuss the topic of Dharma. So Vedas were originally one. They were later compiled and codified by sage Vedavyasa Muni into 4 Vedas. Rig Veda. This is believed to be the oldest book known to humanity, a most precious collection of knowledge. Second codification is Yajurveda. Out of that, there is Krishna Yajurveda and Shukla Yajurveda. Special direction for the performance of rituals and ceremonies are compiled in the Yajurveda. Samaveda, melodies and songs with precise intonations and modulations to be chanted at these rituals. The most voluminous portion of the Vedas, Samaveda. Atharva Veda or Atharvana Veda, Tantric and other forms of mystical formulas. This is believed to have paved the way for modern science in India. That leads us to the next topic called Shad Angas, 6 limbs of the Vedas. They are called Shiksha, phonetics, Kalpa, a code of rituals, Vyakarana, grammar, Nirukta, etymology, Chandas, literature, Jyotishya Shastra, astronomy. These are called Shadangas. Then there are 4 Upavedas. In Rig Veda, there is Ayurveda. Most of the people know that. Science of medicine in India. In Yajurveda, there is Dhanurveda, military science and warfare and so on. In Samaveda, there is Gandharva Veda, the art of science and music. In Atharvana Veda, there is Stapatya Veda, science of construction and mechanics. Now, every Veda has 3 subdivisions. It is divided into Karma Kanda, which focuses on the ritualistic portion of the Vedas, Upasana Kanda, or the worship portion of the Vedas, and Gnana Kanda, the knowledge portion of the Vedas. You will also hear terms like Purva Mimamsa, etc. Before that, I want to introduce you to 2 terms. Pashu. Pashyati iti pashu, to see. Pashu is an animal. What animal does is takes things at face value. Only externally it sees and perceives. Just to see and perceive only at a sensory level is the animalistic tendency, Pashu. Whereas man or Manushya has the ability to think. Not only to see or perceive a thing, but to think about and to know the truth behind a particular object or situation. Therefore, Manushya is different from Pashu because he thinks why. He wants to know the knowledge or the truth that gives real victory. So you will also hear terms in Vedas called Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. The Karma and Upasana Kandas are called Purva Mimamsa, and Gnana Kanda, the knowledge portion, is called Uttara Mimamsa. Uttara Mimamsa, or the Gnana portion, is going to be our focus during this series. It is also called as Vedanta. Veda plus Anta literally means the concluding portions of the Vedas, but refers to the end goal indicated by the Vedas, that is Brahman. Vede siddhyati siddhanta iti Vedanta, meaning the philosophical conclusions arrived at, by, and in the Vedas. That is the most appropriate definition for Vedanta. We will discuss more of this when we talk about different Vedantic philosophies, darshanas, prasthanatrayi, what are Upanishads, how many are there, what are Mahavakyas, etc. But let us understand why there are three divisions of Vedas. Since human beings have three kinds of problems, impurities of the mind is the first problem. It is called as mala. Restlessness of the mind, vikshepa, and ignorance of the self. In fact, ignorance of the self is the root cause of the other two problems. It is called as avarana. So there are three: mala, vikshepa, avarana. Let us analyze this a little bit. Is it not that our mind is wandering all the time? We may be physically sitting in a class or in front of something, but our mind may be wandering somewhere else. Why is this? If one were to ask, it is due to that impurity called mala. Let us understand this by looking at our own lives. Throughout our lives, we perform actions, receive a set of results. We meet different people, go through many experiences and circumstances. All of these activities that we do throughout our lives can be classified into two categories: perception, response. We perceive an object, we interpret a situation, then we act, which is followed by a result. With the result, we enjoy or we suffer. If the result meets our expectation, we are happy. If the result does not meet our expectation, then we are sad or unhappy. If it consistently does not meet our expectation, then we are depressed. We are angry. All sorts of emotional responses kick in. And then again we respond. This, in short, is the story or the cycle of our lives. This cycle is like a sorry go around, not a merry go around, but a sorry go around. If we analyze our lives, we like to do things that we like and avoid things that we do not like. Then one might ask, what is the motivating factor behind doing things we like to do and avoid things that we do not like doing? So in technical scriptural language, it is called vasana anusari, prompted by our inherent tendencies, the baggage we brought in, called vasanas, that manifest in the form of likes, technically called as raga, dislikes, technically called as dvesha. So this raga and dvesha, these are the impurities of our mind. Raga, dvesha, like, dislike. So the more we act and react to our vasanas, the stronger they become. We will discuss this topic when I bring the topic of gunas. In fact, recently during the Bhagavad Gita lectures, I quoted the inverted tree. Adhaschordvam prasutas tasya shakha guna pravruddha vishaya pravalah adhascha mulanyanu karmanubandhini manushya This samsara, this branches of a tree of samsara or transmigration is depicted as extending downward and upward, strengthened by the gunas, the qualities, and have sense objects as their shoots. The roots that follow this spread downward. This is the 15th chapter, 2nd shloka. In this metaphor, our life in this world is compared to that of a banyan tree. The secondary roots go down and gets rooted and it becomes stronger. Similarly, we get deep rooted in the world of illusion based on our vasanas. Therefore, our impurities of the mind, raga and dvesha, needs to be eliminated. This is the purpose of the karma kanda portion of the Vedas. Therefore, the mind which is restless because of our various likes and dislikes, we run from one direction to the other, one object to the other. Constantly, we have become human doings instead of being human beings. Because of these impurities of raga and dvesha, also known as mala, our mind is not available for knowledge. Therefore, we need to purify our mind. For this, the solutions are in the Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas, bringing in basic disciplines in life. This is called as Chitta Shuddhi or purification of mind, intellect, everything. The Upasana Kanda portion helps us with concentration, Chitta Ekagrata. In the next module, next week, I will elaborate a little bit on karma and upasana, the types of karma, all this I will bring in. So once we have purified our mind through karma or selfless actions and made it single pointed through the upasana, we are ready for highest knowledge. That sequence is important. This sequence of this is a good segue to our symbolism topic for the week, similar to our Navaratri festival coming up next month in October. Lots of people have misconception about Navaratri and cannot explain the spiritual significance to a Westerner. They think it is just a Ras Garba or a dance that happens at the temples and people dress up and go and celebrate. So today I'm going to link this topic of purity of mind, ekagrata, leading to self-knowledge, what Navaratri means as well. So what does Navaratri mean? Nava means 9. Ratri means night. Navaratri means 9 nights of celebration, 9 nights of worship. First 3 nights, we worship goddess Durga. The next 3 nights, we worship goddess Lakshmi. And the last 3 nights, we worship goddess Saraswati. The 10th day is celebrated as Vijayadashami. Vijaya means victory. Dashami means the 10th day. That is victory over the mind achieved due to worship of these 3 goddesses sequentially. Let us explore that option of understanding Navaratri a little bit. So the first 3 nights, we worship goddess Durga. Why do we do that? In order to gain noble virtues. In order to gain noble virtues, first, all our evil tendencies, our negativities in the mind must be destroyed. Goddess Durga represents destruction of those negative elements within us, the evil tendencies within us. She is also called as Mahishasura Mardini. Mahisha means buffalo. Asura, that demon, Mahishasura, that represents qualities of laziness, all manifestations of tamoguna, darkness, ignorance, inertia. What buffalo does is it just lazes around in a pool of water, soaking that sunshine. By praying to goddess Durga, what do? We invoke that divine power within us to destroy our animalistic tendencies within us, our negativities. This process is Chitta Shuddhi, purification of our mind. First 3 nights, we pray to Goddess Durga to remove our negativities so we are much purer. That leads us to the next 3 nights of worship during Navaratri. We pray to Goddess Lakshmi. Although material wealth is important, we say na karmana na prajaya danena tyagena ikena amrutatvamana. But you cannot do anything without material wealth. We need material wealth also. All three are important to run an organization, institution, everything. But in this process, we are praying to Goddess Lakshmi. Here, she represents to give us spiritual wealth, not only material wealth, but spiritual wealth. Adi Shankaracharya ji calls it Shama Adi Shatka Sampatti. Shama, calmness of mind. Self-control, Dhamma. Third one is self-withdrawal, Uparama or Uparati. Forbearance, Titiksha. Shraddha, faith. And Samadhana, single pointedness. So this first set of 3 nights, we pray to Goddess Durga to remove our negativities. Next 3 nights, we pray to Lakshmi to prepare us for self-knowledge by giving us the necessary qualification of Viveka, Vairagya, Samadhi, Shat Sampatti, Mumukshutva, all these aspects of spiritual wealth to arm us to take the spiritual highway. Then, the last 3 nights, we pray to Goddess Saraswati. Saraswati is the goddess of knowledge. What type of knowledge? Swa, the knowledge of the self. Sara, meaning the essence of self-knowledge, the one who gives. Sara Swaditi, the one who gives the essence of self-knowledge. Now, somebody might ask, why do we celebrate Navaratri at night? The standard answer would be, it is time for us to wake up from this long slumber of tamoguna, laziness and our ignorance about our true nature, into a spiritual awakening. In fact, in Hinduism, we celebrate two festivals like that at night. One is Navaratri and the other one is Shivaratri. Both are very important, auspicious occasion for every practicing Hindu. That leads us to the 10th day, which is Vijayadashami. Vijaya means victory. Dashami is the 10th day that we celebrate the victory. Some celebrate as Rama defeating Ravana. Ravana is the Dashamukha. Dashamukha within us, who has externally been looking or focused, who took this U-turn in life to our mind internally. So that's why they burn the effigy of Ravana to celebrate that victory on Vijayadashami day. So when you turn that internally, that is Ras Garba, that dance of joy. Rasa is joy. That victory of higher self over the lower self. This is the true significance of Navaratri. This is sequentially, you can equate symbolically to karma, upasana, jnana, marga, that we can look at from our shastra or vedas. So let me go through the key takeaways from today. So we started with the definition of our culture. We explored how to pursue happiness, leading on to a study and classification of an overview of our shastras. Vedas is our source book. We call it a Purusheya Grantha, not a man-made entity. We call it Shruti, that which is heard by our rishis. Then we have what is called as the Smriti Shastra, that which is remembered. Manusmriti, Yagnavalkya Smriti, Kautilya Smriti, Parashara Smriti are all popular examples of Smriti Shastra. Bhagavad Gita is also in that category. We have Itihasas of Ramayana and Mahabharata, and Puranas, various 18 Mahapuranas. We understood that Vedas form the basis of our culture and is our source book. We also went through the 4 Vedas, the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharvana Veda, 6 limbs of Vedas, Shad Angas of Nirukta, Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Chandas, and Jyotishya. We also went through the 4 Upavedas of Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Gandharva Veda, and Stapatya Veda. We explored the three subdivisions of Vedas: Karma Kanda, Upasana Kanda, and Gnana Kanda. The purpose of Karma Kanda is Chitta Shuddhi. The purpose of Upasana Kanda is Chitta Ekagrata. Once an individual has gone through that process, that culminates in the knowledge of the self. In Gnanakanda, he is ready. He or she is ready for knowledge. That is our key takeaway for today. In this module, in the next class, we will talk of the details on karma, karma yoga, how to divinize our actions, and how to the different types of karma, nitya, naimittika karma, different types of how to minimize certain effects of prarabdha karma called prayaschitta karma. All these aspects we will go through in the next week. We will do 3 times Trayambakam today before we end the class for today. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiya Mamrataat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiya Mamrataat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiya Mamrataat. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. If there are any questions, you can always send this to vhollabbi@yahoo.com, and I will try to answer it in the next class. Hari, thank you.